This video shows the new drainage layout for preventing water gaining access underneath the building, the original air vents to ventilate underneath the building, and why the timber frame rotted, access to the old wall plate, its condition and its replacement. Here you can see the drainage trench as dug to mitigate the issues with surface water drainage. These trenches were later filled with clean stone. You can see aluminium slinkies which intended to go underneath the building to allow cross-flow ventilation. Here is the old air vent. It came out behind the render on the face of the timber frame. Condensation caused the timber frame to rot. Gaining access to the timber frame meant removal of a 4-inch block wall and then a 4-inch reinforced poured concrete wall, which was used as a retaining wall. You can see it here. The block work has been removed. That's the poured concrete wall, and there's original block work. And there you can see that some of it's been removed, the original rebar coming out of the original cast foundation. Many cubic meters of stone had to be removed before you could gain access to the retaining wall. And of course the trench that we put new drainage in was well beneath that, so many cubic meters of material were removed to allow this to even start. Here you can see the trench has been filled in, and it has been filled in with clean stone taken from elsewhere on the site where trenches had to be opened up. Here you can see the base of the steel, which was a retaining steel for the timber plank wall, and you could just glimpse the concrete block that it was embedded in. Most of this is type 1, which had to be excavated to gain access to the retaining wall. Beneath the type 1 was the clay material that had to be excavated to lower the drainage. Here you can see where the original surface level was made up, and here you can see where we've taken clean stone away from that. That clean stone has been used to fill in trenches elsewhere. That retaining wall will then be removed to gain access to the timber frame. Here you can see another hole underneath the foundation of the building, and a slinky which is being put in to allow crossflow. Here you can see the retaining wall has been removed. The timber frame is in its original condition, and we've put plastic over it to prevent weather getting in. Obviously, with the timber frame exposed like that, you've got the vapour barrier and then plasterboard. Here we're showing the wall plate, which, as you can see, has deteriorated hugely. This deterioration was happening it was happening before the building was declared complete, and it continued until such time as we were able to expose it. There's no way of repairing work like that. That has to actually be replaced. Those members are 6x2s, and I believe that they were treated. The frame itself was made from CLS, the largest section CLS, which is not quite 6x2. You can see there the beam block floor and the slurry which was used to lock the blocks in place, and you can see quite how badly the condensation has allowed the timber frame to deteriorate. All that work had to be replaced. Here you can see the first experiments that we did to work out a technique for replacing it. That's 2-inch angle iron with an 8x2 beam on top, which is bolted to the stud work, and we then used 12-ton car jacks to lift the building. We were successful. We were able to remove the old 8x2 wall plate, 6x2 wall plate, and replace it with a new 6x2 wall plate. You can see there we're supporting the building on just 2-inch blocks while we remove the old material. In many instances the vertical stud work wasn't totally replaced. We put in sister studs to provide strength and just remove the rotten. Here's an old cleared out stone trench. The stone's been used to fill in a new trench. There you can see the vents and how the deterioration took place from condensation. Another vent, interstitial condensation taking place behind the render, in the air gap behind the render on the front of the timber frame. We obviously lived with skips for the 5 or 6 years that the majority of the work was taking place on. Here you can see a trench which has been filled in with plywood on top, just to provide a surface to work off. And the render has been removed to take the weight off the timber frame so that we could jack the timber frame up to allow replacement. You can also see from the area that we've just been through that most of the hard landscaping that was immediately around the buildings had to be removed. And here again you can see that we were actually living in a building site for many years while we did this work. It took quite a long time to gain access to the wall plate and replace the wall plate and the sole plate of the timber frame and any stud work that was required.